Hey everybody, this is Scott Schimmel. I'm the co-host of the Dream Big podcast with Bob Goff and friends. I'm here with my friend Bob Goff.
Hey, everybody. I'm so glad you're listening today.
Bob, one of the classic phrases you've used over the years is actually a question. It's that question, what if we? And what if we is this amazing way to think about the dreams that you have in a tangential, kind of off from a different angle sort of way. So where did you come up with that?
I think it was just this idea of being creative. You can do things alone, but doing it together is just always so much more fun. And then the idea of getting into the right kind of mischief in your life. There's a lot of the wrong kind of mischief out there, but to find the right kind of mischief, bring somebody along and then do it. And oftentimes the mischief stems from just having a beautiful ambition, something that you've wanted to do, whether you wanted to play rock and roll or you wanted to play the flute, whatever it was, you have this ambition and just start somewhere. Like I wanted to learn how to play the bagpipes. I was $100 away from having a set of used bagpipes. So I got them. You know what? After puffing on those for a while, that's not my ambition anymore. So don't feel like you're a failure because you just said, I tried this ambition, it didn't work. Like just engage these things and true. And it's not just passing time. It's very purposeful. So you can have these other ambitions, things that are going to actually outlast you in your life, like love and hope and peace and joy and some of those things. But to drill down, say, I want to be joyful, to say, well, what brings you joy? And to ask those questions. And so that's what I love about the podcast. We get to ask those questions.
Well, someone I hope right now is looking up eBay for Bob Goff used bagpipes.
Yeah. And kilt.
Oh, no.
No, I'm not parting with a kilt.
No. Well, a couple months ago, you said, hey, what if we had Amy Grant on the podcast? And I said, do you mean the Amy Grant, the icon?
Oh, what an amazing, amazing, kind, generous, talented, authentic person. I could go on for a long time. But I'm just glad that you get to listen in to a conversation among friends about ambitions and how you go after those ambitions and what happens along the way.
Yeah, well, she's not just an icon. She is deep and wise, and it's just a great conversation. So I'm looking forward to you all listening in.
Hi, everybody. We have a good friend and just a dear person, Amy Grant, on the line. And Amy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bob. You know, from where I'm sitting, I can look outside and see the bell that you gave me years ago.
Oh.
That every time I made a move in a direction of a dream, that I would ring that bell.
Oh,
and I put it
love
up,
hearing
and I didn't
that.
ring it for a long time.
Yeah, that is so great.
Ring it a lot now. I ring it a lot now. Yeah.
We've got a bell here where I am, and we ring that thing when there's happy things. They think it's a fire alarm going off. But the whole idea to just like look for things and then have that moment, especially when a lot of things either are happening or are not happening, but to look for those times to just celebrate the smaller big things in your life. That really warms my heart. I'm so glad you still have that. Hey, so what we're talking about is opportunities that we've had. The circle of friends that I have, we think a lot about ambitions. Like, what are your ambitions? And then what's some time that you took the opportunity, like you took a shot at something that you didn't think was possible. And I think there's a lot of people that are still trying to figure out their ambitions. But over the years, they've had this recurring theme. Whatever it was that they wanted, it just keeps popping back to the top. And one of the things that's been super helpful to me is to be looking for opportunities when that's come by. For instance, I'll give you an example. I had wanted a 1971 Volkswagen bus. I looked forever to find a 1971 Volkswagen bus. And you know what I had to do? Just about every third car. As soon as I wanted a 71 Volkswagen bus, you start seeing what you're looking for. And so has that ever happened to you? I know people know you in so many different respects, amazing vocalist and lyricist, but what are some of the things that were ambitions of yours, and when was it that you went for this opportunity? You didn't think it was possible, but you went for it anyway.
Well, oh my goodness, probably the biggest adventure I have had of that has been, 25 years ago, I bought a farm, and it was just kind of a rugged, low curb appeal because it had power lines going through it. But I would, invite people out there, and it was just a place I would never live, but it was a great retreat. Because just to walk through the woods. And then almost 5 years ago, I started having hopes and dreams attached to what that property could be. I had an ambition to share that property in a meaningful way, and I didn't know what that was going to look like. And so I started, the most important thing to do was I just started talking out loud about the possibilities, and I started sharing those possibilities with people. What if we had a community garden out there? What if we kept bees? What if we created some environment for children? What if? Because, as crazy as it sounds, or I guess I should say obvious, but not often considered by myself personally, is that everything you pass that is man-made was somebody's dream.
Yeah, good point.
At some point they had a dream. A museum, a school, a store chain, anything that was created was somebody's dream. Now, some are like, man, that was a dream gone awry, or that was a swing and a miss. But anything that does not appear naturally in nature was something that somebody dreamed.
Yeah, did you, when you were explaining your dream to people, Amy, did you get some people that tilted their heads a couple degrees, be like, I don't get it. I just not seeing it.
Yes, I did. This doesn't make financial sense, was one thing that people said. I opened up our farm to be used by a group of kids. Once I started having the conversations, I found that somebody would cross my path, and then we would start sharing ideas. But the first time I opened up the farm in a big way, it was not advantageous to me financially. I mean, I had to fix some things before the county would let me invite kids in an organized way out there. So it was expensive.
I love that idea. You got an ambition, and then you have a couple impediments. And one of the impediments can be your friends, that when you say your beautiful dream, they kind of tilt their head a couple degrees and they think you've jumped the tracks. Yeah, particularly your accountant.
And also what something looks like from a distance. So we had a 2-week program for kids. And after that, somebody that was not involved, but kind of on an exterior circle, made the comment, not to me, but to other people in a circle, I think she's getting used. I don't think this is, it was negative. And that information came back to me through my grown adult son. And he said, are you getting used? Is this? And my response to him was, and I just said, you tell me, how does the farm feel right now as compared to the 20 years before this? And he said, it's never been more alive.
Oh, bingo. There's your report card.
If there's a cost to it being alive, then all this has just made touring essential. So it's put energy back into the work that I do in order to pay my bills. I mean, I don't plan to die with a savings account. I would like to just die having, been a big fat hose, like a fire hose of generosity. That's my dream.
Man, what a great ambition. I just want to kind of like pause on that for a second. If you look, I try cases for a living, and what you'll do is say, like, tell me the last sentence you're going to tell to everybody who's going to decide. And then work backwards and say, so what do you want now? And so if you just say the last drop fell out of that fire hose, I'm just going to die. There's a beautiful monk in France in the 1800s, and he said, "We have eternity to rest." And so I'm just like, sometimes when I'm feeling a little tired, I just remind myself we're going to get more shut eye than we want later. But to just say the last drop out of that fire hose. And so some of those things, it sounds like those buoyed you. When somebody says you're being used, now there's bad used and there's good used. So sometimes when somebody says, I just feel so used, I'm thinking, well, that's awesome. If it's in a good way, if you're just getting used. And I love how you let one ambition then fuel another, that you can go out on tour knowing why you're doing what you're doing, because it's a beautiful dream, it's an ambition, and you're going to look for an opportunity to help fund the dream. And it probably lends more purpose to each show that you do.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I love the part too, Amy, where you said you told everybody about it. Like that, I want for the people that are listening to say, when you have an ambition, let everybody know about it, because then and sometimes they'll tilt their heads a couple degrees because they're concerned for you. But what I do is I just picture all of heaven leaning over the rails like 45 degrees, just waiting to see what's going to happen at your farm next. Kind of hoping an angel or two will fall out, that they're just so curious. They say, like, this is a page turner. And so don't be dissuaded when that person leans their head a couple degrees, because it's just, who are you getting your validation from? Is it from God or is it from men? And so you could definitely discuss it with men, but at the end of the day, I just love that you said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And the accountant's freaking out and everybody else is, but say it's going to be a beautiful thing. Roll us forward. So what's going on at the farm now?
All kinds of things. Well, can I just back up and say a couple of staples that are a part of my life?
Absolutely.
And staples that are part of my life are, and I got this from my great-grandfather, but he said the hour of contemplation is the most important hour of your day. So contemplation, I'm a mother of a blended family of 5. I birthed 4 of those, and I have 2 grandkids now. So there's no quiet contemplation. But for me, contemplation is anytime I'm doing something that's manual labor. So whether it's making the beds or chopping everything for a crunchy salad, or especially when I'm cooking, my mind is free. And so just considering possibilities. Many nights I make the choice to not turn on the TV or to do any social media, because there's only so much time, and there's a lot of great television. But if I give the rare hour or 2 that I finally have to call my own, if I give it to somebody else's story, then I'm not making a space for the seeds that matter the most to me to be watered and grow. Mm-hmm. And so, the default mechanism to be entertained will actually ultimately rob you of living your dream. I think it's important to have times to be entertained, but I think it needs to be very clearly spoken. I'm choosing now to give this 2 hours of my time to watch a movie. I'm giving 90 minutes of my time to catch up on social media. But for that to be a consistent part of every day, I have found that becomes your choice, is to live somebody else's life, because all social media is reactionary. It's not action, it's reaction. And creativity comes from action. And it dissipates all that energy within. And we all need, so contemplation does not have to be done in silence. It's actually better if you're doing some kind of manual labor, because it distracts the critic. You're chopping carrots, you're folding clothes, you're driving the endless carpool if you have non-drivers. All of that is such great occupy the practical side of your brain because it frees up the dreamer in you.
Hey, is your practice, Amy, to write these things down when you, let's say you're chopping carrots? Do you write down things that you're thinking about, or do you just remember them? I just feel like I have no memory when it comes to that, so I'm a huge note taker. How about you?
Sometimes sometimes I'll pick up my phone and I'll just do an audio note. After my father died in June this last summer, I tried to write every day, but there were some days I just couldn't make time for it. But I write at least a few days a week. I'll just like set a 30-minute timer or a 45-minute timer, and I'll sit down and just do a brain dump. Ideas, thoughts, and I don't do it in a way that somebody else is going to. It's not narrative of my life. It's just what's in my brain. And sometimes it might be a grocery list, it might be a to-do list, but I know I'm going to cover a certain number of pages, and I'm not going to stop writing until I have filled at least 3 pages.
Oh, that's a beautiful practice.
Because here's what's happening. If you are, I don't know, they're not, most of us are forgetful, and most of us are, our minds jump all over the place. And so if you go, well, what conduit do I have with my inner creator? How does God speak to me? How does my eternal self speak to my temporal self? Because there has to be a practical connection point. And so for me, when I'm writing, it might be something like, I'm so furious. Vince and I had a fight last night because I corrected his table manners once again. Who in the world do you think you are? Nobody gives a flying anything about what you think about how they eat. If you're so all high and mighty about table manners, Amy, why don't you eat with your own mouth closed and stop talking? Why don't you? And then I'm writing, and then all of a sudden it slips out of my pen. What are you not giving yourself permission to think or say or do or feel that you have to criticize another human being? What is it? Why can you not say, I am free to live?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I look at paper and I go, oh my gosh, this was all connected to our ability to live fully begins with being fully connected to ourselves and the best friend to ourselves we can possibly be. When you're parenting your children, to say, your job is to befriend yourself. And if you will befriend yourself and live with respect toward yourself, you can do anything.
Yeah,
you won't need, it's just so, it's so practical though. It's one step at a time.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that strikes me about what you're saying now is the super practical for people that are listening. Like to say, could I just sit down and say, with this overarching premise, Sweet Maria tells me all the time, which is to keep your eyes on your own paper. And then don't try to get everybody on the same page. Y'all get on your own page and just say, what we're going to do is I'm not going to try to manipulate your conduct, because if you manipulate somebody's conduct, which I'm like prone to want to do, then what you get is compliance for a little while, and then you get a huge reaction later. And so you'll have somebody that might comply for a little bit, but at what cost? One thing that you don't know about me, I don't think, Amy, is I wear a mood ring. Isn't that fun? It was the best.
Have a mood ring.
Oh, remember those back in the 70s? I could you can get them for like $2 still. It's on my wedding finger, right? I've got my wedding band, and then inside of that is the mood ring, so it doesn't go anywhere. And so when Marie and I are talking, I just talk about how I'm feeling, not where I am. We don't talk about geography because it makes us feel real far apart, but like feelings make us feel closer together. And so wouldn't that be great to send your daughter off to college and to just say, what color's your ring and what does that mean? Don't look it up in a book. Just say, what does blue mean? And blue means like I just got in a fight with my roommate, or I felt misunderstood, or I failed the test, or I aced the test, or whatever it is. But to get it, how you're feeling, and I'm right back to you jotting those things down, having the practices that create undistracted times where you can then start looking for opportunities. Because as soon as you have clarity on why you're doing what you're doing, then you find the opportunity to actually go for it. You go like, wow, I didn't even see that was there. It's under my nose right now.
Yes. I've got a friend named Bill Green, and he lives in East Tennessee, and his father started a bank. I can't remember the name of the bank, but then he was like the heir apparent. And I think he probably ran fast and hard and was wild when he was young, but I met him when he was, well-groomed and seasoned and successful. And I asked him, what were the two things that you did as president of the bank that you're the most proud of? And he said, well, one is I collected everyone together and said, if you will come to work when you are well and not consider sick days as paid vacation, then if you get sick, I'll take care of you. And he said, our sick days went from everybody always taking all their sick days every year, which I'm not sure how many it was, but it was over 5. He said that sick days went down to average 2 a year. And he said, and at the same time, there was a woman that was diagnosed with breast cancer, and he said she had to be out for months battling for her life. And he said, and she was kept on the payroll the whole time. And he said, the company just respecting time. And he said, the other thing is, I decided that I would pay for further education for anyone in the company that wanted it. But he said, I didn't make a public announcement. And this is why saying your dreams matters, because he said, I would just say at the end of the meeting, if anyone is interested in further education, come and see me. And he said, because sometimes people will take advantage of something that's free, but he said, I knew if somebody was trying to figure out a way to finish college, if I made that blanket statement, they would already be looking for the opportunity. And that's the important thing about saying your dreams out loud, to say, I would like a chance to be involved in this circle of creativity or in this line of business. If you say that out loud, then you kind of poke your own antenna up.
Yes, you're looking for the opportunities, and then you got all these other people that just got recruited to look for an opportunity for you.
Yes. And he said, I had young people, I had middle-aged people come, and they would say, when you talked about education, and he said, let's sit down. And he said, I always followed through. They always finished. It was never abused. And,
Beautiful.
And also simple prayer that my first mother-in-law told me in the craziest days of sleep deprivation, when I had, 2 kids in diapers and songs on the radio and going to work sometimes meant flying to the other side of the globe. It was a few years of total sleep deprivation. And anyway, but one day I was at the coffee pot and I just said, I have not even prayed a succinct prayer. Like I was doing overseas interviews at 4:00 this morning, and I don't think I know my name. And my mother-in-law, but I said, here I am talking about music and hoping it has an eternal purpose on some level. And I'm not even I got nothing.
Yeah.
And she laughed. And this woman grew up, her life story was fascinating. She was homeless for a while as a child and worked in a carnival with her mother. The first present she ever got, she was 12 years old. The first present, period. She was 12. But she said, oh, Amy, it just takes one good prayer a day. That's all you need is one prayer. And of course, I grew up Church of Christ, there was a lot resting in that balance of, have you done enough good?
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
And I said, there's one prayer. And she said, yes, just every day pray, God, lead me today to those I need and those that need me. And let something I do have eternal significance. And she said, you're never going to know what that back half is.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Somebody speaking those words over your life, and then you just carry those for years. And that, when we're talking about opportunities, it's not just saying, what's an opportunity for me to get what I'm looking for, but to have your antennas up and to say, what's a need for somebody else that I could fill, as people are expressing what their needs are. And so I think it's a given, it's a receive and give away as well on opportunities. Say, like, let everybody know what your ambition is and be open to opportunities where they come along to go after it. But then also be saying, who else needs to come to this farm? Who's somebody who needs something that I've got? There's a young guy that worked for me for 15 years as a paralegal, and I asked him what he wanted, and his ambition was to be a lawyer. But he didn't have like 3 years to go to law school. He had 3 kids. And so we went to the state bar and asked if we could teach him law school ourselves. And they said yes. So we did. And he passed the bar. I think he's as surprised as we are. But that idea of not just say, what is it that I want? And then to drill down on it. One of the things that I've known about you, Amy, is that you actually are just this person that keeps going further down the hole, to say, instead of my ambition is to be happy, to say, well, what does happy look like? And happy looks like being purposeful. What does purposeful look like? Like, I don't know, what do I have? Oh, wait, I have a farm. And to say, and I love kids, and I can bring people, and we could do a community garden. And man, I just hope you'll let me come and play with your bees someday. Could I just like run through there covered in honey or daisies or something?
Yes, Bob, here's the other thing. I mean, my real love is creating community. And I use the tool of music to do it. Music is a platform to create community. But my passion is community. So, and dreams, I don't know that they can happen without community. And so it's just such an interesting thing. What builds community is our need. And so, I mean, some people have the luxury of saying, I'm part of a supper club, or the luxury of time, they're part of a book club. But you want community that, a community built out of need is essential. My child is sick. And so I find myself in St. Jude, and I need the emotional support. And here comes the community.
Yeah.
Or my mother has dementia. I am overwhelmed. And so I reach out to people in my church. I reach out to second and third cousins. I reach out, and that community is essential for survival. And it is within the context. So it's kind of like something goes wrong in your life and you go, I can't survive this, but it pulls you into forced survival community. And then suddenly within community, you find time and opportunity to talk about dreams. And then suddenly there's some crazy connection. And so it's not, I mean, it's like it takes the hard things in life to pull you into the community that then gives you connections to pursue something beautiful. It's all, I believe it's all connected.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was thinking as you were describing that is the vulnerability to say, actually, I have a need. The vulnerability to say, I have an unfulfilled ambition that I haven't gotten to. And vulnerability equals community. Because if everything's terrific and you're just running through the tulips, then it's just a way to like create a bunch of space and just say, like, you know what, I've got some questions about things. I'm not going to try to fake it with the answers, to say, I am just puzzled. And some of the best advice I've ever gotten was a hug. Just from somebody that says, man, I got some questions too. Instead of trying to fix that, just say, would you get in here? Come on.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Amy, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time. You had something else to say.
I'm crazy about you, Bob, and thank you for all the ways that you fanned the flame in me.
Oh, I'm just so glad we're in it together. I think all together we make one really well-adjusted person. But it's going to take all of us to get authentic enough and real enough to just say, I'm undistracted. And that's one of the things that I'm going to take away from our little time together is this idea of living an undistracted life that's very purposeful. You need to understand what you want and not just be limited by what you want, but look at what other people want. Look for the opportunity to do something about it in your life and in their lives. And then in 100 creative ways, and then stand back and let God do his thing in people's, not try to engineer this thing, but to be just fully present. I love in the South, you guys say, be where your feet are. I love that. Well, God bless you, my friend. It's so good to hear your voice, and you're changing my life. And just knowing that you're out there loving people and being super real, that gives me the courage to want to continue to do the same thing.
I love that. Thanks, Bob.
All right. So long.
Oh, I'm so glad you had her on the show.
Yeah. What a national treasure she is.
Well, in the Dream Big framework, so many times people can mistake the idea of pursuing your ambitions as a lot of activity and being busy and just trying the next thing, trying. But she has this very different way of looking at it. She talked about slowing down and listening to her own voice as a touch point of creativity.
Isn't that, it feels counterintuitive that if you have an ambition that you're going after, sometimes you feel like you need to speed it up, run faster, do more.
Yep.
When really sometimes the cadence is just to pause, take some delight in the mundane, find your rhythm in there, and then create enough space so some of these ambitions will percolate up to the top.
The other thing that stuck out to me, she said, dreams can't happen without community. And that's so true in my life. There's no dream that I've ever had that's been isolated to me. Not only in the dream of it, gets always involved other people, but also in accomplishing it and pursuing it.
Yeah, you can always tell, even in your own writing and descriptions. I use words like we, us, our, a lot more than I use me, my, I. And so as you're thinking community, you'll start living community. So just start replacing some of those words with what if we and our ambition, and gather the people that are close to you, whether you work with them, whether you do life with them, and ask, like, so what are some of the things that we could be doing? And share with them your ambitions, and you'll find a ton of support and engagement.
Well, part of her wisdom, too, is I heard a warning in there with Instagram and social media and reality shows. It's tempting and easy to look at other people's stories and get distracted so easily. So in this Dream Big framework, as you've clarified your big ambition and start exploring opportunities, beware of the other stories you're listening to.
Yeah, and think of the distractions in your life. If you think of your life as this board with all the puzzle pieces on it, one pile of puzzle pieces on the left might be all the distractions in your life, and the other pile on your far right might be all the stress. Just deal with the pieces that are in the middle.
Well, as she was talking about her farm, maybe you want to go to the south. I want to go to the south.
I know, ready? I'm ready to do whatever you do on that farm.
Right. And we are, right? And the Dream Big workshops coming up.
Yeah, we're going to
Magnolia.
We'll be in Waco,
Tennessee.
Texas, and then we're at on-site just outside of Nashville. So come and join us if you're nearby. The Dream Big framework workshops are a time where you can go a little bit deeper to get some clarity on your ambition, and then to do these steps to say, where is there an opportunity that I have to do that? What things do I need to clear out of the way to get there? What's some action steps to get there? You'll have a couple setbacks, and how do we land this plane? So it's 3 or 4 days of going a mile deep on those things with your individual ambitions.
Yeah, and around a community, like Amy was talking about. Yep. So come and spend time with the people that can surround your dream with their own ambitions and fuel it.
Crazy thing about hearing somebody else with their ambitions and what they're planning to do next, it makes me, just like I wanted to be on the farm, it makes me want to start cultivating my own.
Yeah. Well, if you're interested and curious about more, go to dreambigframework.com. All the info you need for those 2 upcoming live workshops are up there, as well as the Dream Mapping giveaway this month. It's a tool you can use, super simple to download, and start exploring the plan for your dreams. You've got permission to explore your dreams. Now you need to make a plan. So thanks, Bob.
Hey, I'm so glad we got to spend a little bit more time together dreaming.